Oh, yes.
Well, hello to you all, and welcome. Me and my little friends would like to tell you a story. The story of Pedelma, the enchanted daughter, and the King of Ireland's son. Now, Conall was the name of the king who ruled over Ireland at that time. And he had 3 sons, and as the fir trees grow, some crooked and some straight, and one of them grew so wild that in the end the king of the king's councillor had to let him have his own way in everything. Well, the youth was the eldest son, and his mother had died before she could be a guide to him. Now the king and the king's councillor left him to his own way, and the youth I'm telling you about did nothing but ride and hunt all day. One morning he rode abroad. His hound at his heel and his hawk on his wrist, but raced each to carry him whither he list, and the blue sky over him. And he rode on until he came to a turn in the road, and there he saw a grey old man seated on a heap of stones, playing the game of jack-stones with himself. But first the old man had one hand winning, and then the other. Well, now he would say, well, that's my good right. Pray beat that my good left. Well, the King of Ireland's son had left his horse by a tree, and he went over to watch the strange old man. And as he watched, he danced a little dance to himself. Prince, if you can play a game as well as you can dance a dance, I'd like it if you would sit down beside me. Oh, I can play any game, said the king's son. Well, what shall we play for? Whatever you like. If I win, you must give me anything I ask. And if you win, I will give you anything you ask. Will you agree to that? If it is agreeable to you, then it is agreeable to me. And so they played. And the king's son won the game. Now, what do you desire me to give you, king's son? Oh, I shan't ask you for anything, for I think you haven't too much to give. Well, never mind that. I mustn't break my promise, and so you must ask me for something. Oh, very well, then. There is a field at the back of my father's castle, and I want to see it filled with cattle tomorrow morning. Well, can you do that for me? I can, said the old man. Well, then I want 20 cows, each one white with a red ear, and a white calf lying beside each cow. The cattle shall be as you wish, said the old man. But when that's done, I shall think the wager has been paid. And with that, he went off to fetch his horse, smiling to himself all the way, at the thought of the foolish old man who played jackstones with himself, and who thought he could bring together 50 white kine, each with a red ear and a white calf coincide each cow. So he rolled away, and he thought no more about the grey old man. But in the morning, when he was taking his horse out of his stable, he heard the grooms talking about a strange happening. When Art, the king's steward, had gone out and had found the field at the back of the castle filled with cattle. Well, there were 50 white cows, each with a red ear and a white calf at her side. When the king had ordered Art, his steward, to drive them away, and the king's son watched Art and his men trying to do it. But no sooner were the cattle put out of one side of the field than they came back in the other. Then down came Maragond, the king's counsellor, and he declared that they were enchanted cattle, and that no one on Ireland's ground could put them away. So in the 7-acre field, the cattle stayed. When the king's son saw what his companions yesterday could do, he rode straight to the glen to try if he could have another game with him. There, at the turn of the road, on a heap of stones, the grey old man was sitting, playing a game of jackstones, the right hand against the left. And the king's son had fastened his horse to the branch of a tree. "Did you find yesterday's wager settled?" "I did indeed," said the king's son. "Well then, shall we have another game of jackstones, on the same understanding as before?" "I agree if you agree." So they sat down and they played again. And the king's son won the game again. "What would you like me to do for you this time?" Let a brown bear, holding a burning coal in its mouth, push Kentigern the Queen from her chair in the supper room tonight. Well, that will serve her right for being so cross-tempered. It shall be done." And with that, the king's son turned around and rode back to the castle, smiling all the way to himself. That night, a brown bear, holding a burning coal in its mouth, came into the supper room and stood between Kentigern the Queen and the chair that belonged to her. When none of the servants could drive it away, and when Maragond, the king's counsellor, came, he said, "This is an enchanted creature also, and it is best for us to leave it alone." So the whole company went away and left the brown bear in the supper room, seated on the queen's chair. And the next morning, when he awakened, the king's son thought back to the events of the night before, and he said to himself, "Well, that was a wonderful thing that happened last night in the supper room. I must go and play a third game with the grey old fellow who sits on a heap of stones at the turn of the road." come again, king's son. I have, and I'll play a game with you on the same understanding as before, but this time you throw the jack stones. And thus they played. But this time the king's son lost the game, when immediately the grey old man threw down the stones, and standing up he was terribly tall. King's son, I am your father's enemy, and I have done him an injury. And to the queen, who is your father's wife, I have done an injury also. You have lost the game, and now you must take the penalty I push upon you. You must find out my dwelling place and take 3 hairs out of my beard within a year and a day, or else lose your head. And with that, the king's son turned in the direction of the castle and rode on home. That evening, the king noticed that his son was greatly troubled. And when he lay down to sleep that night, his moaning could be heard all over the castle. And the next day, he told his father the story from beginning to end. The king sent for his counsellor Marvon and asked him if he knew who the enchanter was and where he might find him. From what he said, we may guess who he is. He is the enchanter of the Black Back lands, and his dwelling place is hard to find. Nevertheless, your son must seek him out and take the 3 hairs from out of his beard, or else lose his head. For if the heir to your kingdom does not honourably pay his forfeit, the ground of Ireland won't give crops, and the cattle won't give milk. As a year is little for his search, he should start off at once. Although I'm bound to say, I don't know which direction he should go in. And the next day, the king's son said goodbye to his father and his foster brothers, when his stepmother, the queen, would not give her blessing on account of the incident with the brown bear the night before. So he set off on his journey, and all day he was going, travelling through wood and waste. Little fluttering birds could be seen from bush top to bush top, and from top to top, and to the briaries to rest. Till the night came on, blind and dark. And when it was too dark for him to travel any further, he sat down to eat his bread and his meat. Then he put his satchel under his head, and he lay down to sleep on the edge of a great waste. In the morning, when he woke, he mounted his horse and he rode on. And as he went across the waste, He saw an extraordinary sight when everywhere were the bodies of dead creatures, a cock, a wren, a mouse, a weasel, a fox, a badger, a raven, with all the birds and the beasts that the king's son had ever known. At the end of the waste, he came upon two living creatures struggling. But one was an eagle and the other was an eel. The eel had twisted itself around the eagle, and the eagle had covered her eyes with the black film of death. But the king's son galloped forward, and his horse reared up and trampled the eel. Then the eagle drew the films of death from her eyes and looked full of the king's son. I am Laheen the eagle, and I will pay you for this service, son of King Conall. Know that there has been a battle of the creatures, a battle to decide which of the creatures will make the laws for a year. All were killed, and if you had not come, I would have been killed, and the eel would have made the laws. I am Laheen the eagle, and always I will be your friend. Now you must tell me how I can serve you. You can serve me by showing me how I may come to the domain of the enchanter of the Blackback lands. I am the only creature that can show you, King's son. Come, follow me now to the shore of the wide lake. We'll stay here until we see 3 swans. They are the 3 daughters of the enchanter. The youngest daughter is the one who can help you. And when the swans come to the ground, they will transform themselves into maidens and bathe in the lake. Look, the 3 swans. The 2 will come out, transform themselves and fly away. We're quick now, fetch the swan skin that belongs to the youngest maiden and hide with it. And now, farewell to you, son of King Conall. And with that, the eagle rose up into the air, and the king's son rose off to find the swan skin. He returned with the swan skin, and he hid with it behind a little bush. And the younger maiden stayed for a while in the lake, and then she came out and dressed and began to search for her swan skin. But she searched and she searched and she searched. And at last the king's son heard her say, I would do anything in the world for the creature who would find me my swan skin. So then he came out from where he was hiding to give her the swan skin. I am the king of Ireland's son, and I want you to show me the way to your father's dominion. Oh, I would rather do anything else for you. I do not want anything else, said the king's son. If I show you how to get there, will you be content? I shall. You must never let my father know that I showed you the way, and he must not know when you come that you are the King of Ireland's son. I will not tell him that you showed me the way, and I will not let him know who I am. Then she whistled, and a blue falcon flew down. That is my own bird. Follow it where it flies, and it will take you to my father's home. And now goodbye to you. You will be in danger, but I will try to help you. Fidelma is my name. The blue falcon went flying from bush to bush and from rock to rock till the night came on. In the morning he was seen again. The king's son followed, and at last he saw a castle before him. He knew now that he had not far to go, and so he journeyed on. The blue falcon took him over the drawbridge to the very door itself. When the king's son went inside, and there, seated on a chair of gold, was the man who had seemed so tall when he threw down the stones. The enchanter did not recognize the king's son without his hawk and his hound. Who are you? I am a youth who has just finished an apprenticeship to a wizard. I have heard that you have 3 fair daughters, and have come to strive to gain one of them for my wife. Well, in that case, you will have to do 3 tasks for me. If you are able to do them, I will give you one of my 3 daughters in marriage. If you fail to do any one of them, you will lose your head. Are you willing to make the trial? I am, said the king's son. Well, then I will give you your first task tomorrow. It is unlucky that you came today. In this country, we eat a meal only once a week, and we have had our meal this morning. It is all the same to me. I can do without food or drink for a month without any hardship. And I suppose you can do without sleep, too? Oh, easily, said the king's son. What? Well, that is good. Come outside now, and I'll show you your bed. So the enchanter led the king's son outside. Well, the enchanter led the king's son across the castle courtyard to the gable end of the castle, where there stood a dry water tank. Well, that is where you are to sleep, and now tuck yourself into it and be ready for your first task at the rising of the sun. So the king's son climbed into the little water tank, and he was uncomfortable there, of that you may be sure. But in the middle of the night, Fidelma came, and she took him into a fine room where he ate and he slept until the sun was about to rise. And then she called to him, and he went outside and laid himself down in the water tank. And he was left alone until the sun rose and the enchanter came. Come now, I will show you the first task you have to perform. That is Whitefoot the Thorn. She grazes with my goats, but none of my gillies can bring her into the goat house. Here is your first task. Run down Whitefoot the Thorn and bring her with my goats into the goat shelter this evening. You. Oh, Fidelma, I must catch Whitefoot the Thorn and bring her back with the goats into the goat shelter, but this evening, or else lose my head. Oh, when I was in dread, it would be a terrible task, but this one is easy. I can help you catch Whitefoot the Thorn. I thought you might set you this task. So, I have bought you the shoes of swiftness from my father's enchanted things. With these on your feet, you can run down Whitefoot, but you must catch her before she has gone far away. Remember, she must be brought in when the goats are going into the shelter at sunset. And you have to walk back, for all the time you must keep hold of the silver horns. But hurry now, run with the shoes of swiftness, and then lay hold of our horns. Above all things, Whitefoot dreads the loss of her silver horns. So, thanking Fidelma, he went into the wood. There were tears in Thorn's eyes, and he knew she was greatly troubled with the thought of losing her silver horns. But he put his hands gently on her horns and led her back over miles of plains and pastures, bog and wood. And the hours were passing by faster than they were travelling, and when he came within the domain of the enchanter, He saw the goats going quickly before him. They were hurrying from their pastures to the shelter, one stopping maybe to bite the top of a hedge, and another giving this one a blow with her horns to hurry her on. By your silver horns, we must go faster. And they went more quickly then. He saw the enchanter waiting at the goat house, now counting the goats that came along, and now looking up at the sun. And when he saw the king's son coming with his capture, he was so angry that he struck a baby goat that had stopped to rub itself. Well, the goat reared up and struck him with his hind legs. You have performed your first task, I see. You are greater than I thought you were. White Bush can go in with my goats. You go back now to your sleeping place, and tomorrow I'll give you your second task. So the king's son went back and climbed into the little water tank. It was time for his day's journey after White Bush the Thorn, but it was his hope that Fidel would come and give him shelter for the night. But the king's son stayed huddled in the dry water tank for many hours, until the white moon rose above the trees, until the hounds went out hunting for themselves, until the foxes came down and hid in the hedges, waiting for the cocks to crow and the hens to stir at first light. By that time he was stiff and hungry, but suddenly a great white owl flew down. It perched on the edge of the water tank and stared down at the king's son. Have you got a message for me? And the owl shrugged with its wings 3 times. Well, he thought that that must mean a message, so he climbed out of the tank and prepared to follow the owl. It flew slowly and near to the ground, so that he was able to follow it along the path through the wood. The king's son thought that the owl was bringing him to a place where Fidelma was, and that he would get food and shelter there for the rest of the night, as he had done the night before. Sure enough, the owl flew to a little house in the wood. And the king's son looked on through the window, and he saw a room lit with candles, and a table set with dishes and cups with bread and meat and wine. He saw at the fire a young woman spinning at a spinning wheel. Well, her back was toward him, but her hair was the same as Fidelma's. So lifting the latch of the door, he went joyfully into the house. But when the young woman at the spinning wheel turned around, he saw that she was not like Fidelma at all. For she had a little mouth, a long hooked nose, and her eyes looked crossways at a person. But she had bitten the thread she was spinning with her long teeth, and she said, "You are welcome here, Prince." Who are you?" "Aipa is my name. Well, I am the eldest and the wisest daughter of the enchanter. My father is preparing a task for you, and it will be a terrible task. There will be no one to help you with it, so you will lose your head, surely. What I advise you to do is to escape out of this country at once. And how can I do this? Said the king's son. There is only one way to escape, and that is for you to take the slight red steed that my brother has secured under 9 locks. That steed is the only creature that can bring you to your own country. I will show you how to get it, and then I will ride with you to your own country. And why should you do that? Said the king's son. Well, because I would marry you. But if I live at all, Fidelma is the one I'll marry. What? 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 When he reached the water tank, Captain Mountain dropped from his back. He climbed back into the water tank, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited. No message came from Fidelma. He was a long time there, stiff and sore and hungry. And eventually, the sun rose and the enchanter came out of the castle. I hope you had a good night's rest. Oh, I had indeed, said the king's son. And I suppose you filled fish for another task? Oh, more fish than ever in my life before. And then the enchanter led him back across the courtyard. He took him past the goat house, and on a little way, to where there was an open shelter for beehives. I want this hive thatched, and I want it thatched with feathers of birds. You'll go and get enough feathers of wild birds and come back and thatch the beehive before the set of the sun. And then he gave the king's son a bag to put the feathers in and advised him to search some more for birds. But the king's son ran off to moorland to watch for the birds to fly across. He was a long time waiting there. At last, one came down, but he failed to catch it. Oh, he hoped that he would see Fidelma before his head was cut off. King's son, what task has my father set you today? Oh, Fidelma, a terrible task. I must catch enough birds so that with their feathers I can thatch the roof of the beehive. And I must do it before the setting of the sun. Oh, well, I was in dread that he would give you another task, but this one I can help you with. My blue falcon will gather the birds and pull out the feathers for you. But unless you gather them quickly, there is danger, for the roof must be thatched before the setting of the sun. And then she whistled, and the blue falcon flew up into the air and gave a bird call. The birds gathered, and she swooped up amongst them, pulling feathers off their backs wings. And very soon there was a heap of feathers on the ground. Pigeon feathers, magpie feathers, rain feathers, the blackbirds and sparrows. So the king's son quickly gathered them up into his bag, and then the falcon flew to another place and gave a bird call. So again the birds came, and she went among them, plucking out their feathers. The king's son gathered them up into his bag, and the falcon went to another place. Over and over again flew the falcon, plucked out the feathers. And over again, the king's son gathered them up into his bag. When he thought he had enough feathers to thatch the roof, he ran back to the beehive. He began the thatching and the binding of the feathers down with a little willow. And he had just finished when the sun went down. When the enchanter saw what the king's son had done, he was greatly surprised. Well, you surely learned from the wizard you were apprenticed to. But tomorrow I will try you with another task. Go now and sleep in the place where you were last night. The king's son, glad that his head was still on his shoulders, went back and lay down in the dry water tank. And there he lay until the moon went out in the sky, until the secret people began to whisper in the woods. And so long did the king's son remain in the water tank, that when it was neither light nor dark, he saw a crane flying towards him. When it hovered near to the tank, "Have you got a message for me?" said the king's son. For the crane tapped 3 times with its beak. Well, then the king's son, thinking that this surely meant a message, got out of the tank and prepared to follow the bird messenger. And this is the way the crane went. It would fly a little way, and then would light upon the ground until the prince came up to it. And it would fly again over marshes and across little streams. The crane led him on. And all the time, the king's son thought he was being led to the place where Fidelma was, to the place where he could get food and he could get rest, until just before the sun rose. They flew on until they came to an old tower, and there the crane landed upon it. But the king's son saw that there was an iron door in the tower, and he pulled the chain until it opened. He made his way down the stairs. Although he was looking forward to seeing Fidelma, he was a little afraid of the dark old castle. And when he reached the bottom of the stairs, he saw a young woman looking at herself in the glass, but her hair was the same as Fidelma's. But when the young woman turned around, he saw that she was not like Fidelma at all, But she was little, and she had a face that was brown and tight like a knot. She made herself very friendly to the king's son, and she went to him, took his hands, and smiled into his face. "You are welcome here, Prince." "Who are you?" said the king's son. "Well, I am Gilbine, the second and the most loving of the three daughters of the enchanter of the Black Lands." "And why did you send for me?" said the king's son. "Because I know what great trouble you are in. My father is preparing a task for you, and it will be a terrible one. You will never be able to carry it out. What do you advise me to do, Gilbine?" "Well, let me help you. In this tower there are the wisest books in the world. We will surely find in one of them a way for you to get from this country. And then I'll go back with you to your own land." "And why should you do that?" "Well, because I would be your wife. But if I live at all, Fidelma is the one I'll marry." Oh, and when he said that, Gilbine drew her lips together and her chin became like a horn. And then she whistled through her teeth, and instantly everything in the world began to happen before the sun. Well, the king's son was mighty glad when he saw his water tank once again. And once again he climbed back into the tank, and he knew that he had not long to wait before the sun would rise and the enchanter would come to give him the third and the most difficult of the three tasks. And he thought that Fidelma would be shut away from him, and she would not be able to help him that day. Rising with the sun, the enchanter came to where the king's son was huddled in the water tank. "I am now going to set you the third and the last task. Rise up now and come with me." So the enchanter led the king's son back across the courtyard. He led him past the goat shelter, past the shelter of the beehives, and on till they came to a well. The King of Ireland's son looked down into the well, and he could not see the bottom, so deep the well was. At the bottom of the well is the ring of youth. You must get it and bring it to me, or else you will lose your head at the setting of the sun. And with that, the king, the enchanter, went away. Meanwhile, the king's son looked down the well, and he saw no way of getting down the deep, smooth sides. He walked back towards the castle, way he met Fidelma, and she looked at him with deep dread in her eyes. "What task did my father set you today?" she said. "Oh, Fidelma, he bids me to go down into the well and to take the ring of youth from the bottom and bring it to... Oh, he has set you the task I dreaded. You will lose your life if the ring of youth is not taken out of the well, and if you lose yours, then I shall lose mine too. There is one way to get down the sides of the well. You must kill me, then you must take my bones and make them as steps while you go down the sides. When you have taken the ring of youth out of the well, you must push my bones as they were before, and push the ring of youth above my heart. I shall live again. But you must be careful that you leave every bone as it was before." And then the king's son fell into a deeper dread than Fidelma's when he heard what she had said. "And by all your vows and promises, I command that you do it. You must kill me now, and do as I have bidden you. If it be done, I shall live. If it is not done, then you will lose your life, and I will never regain mine." So then he killed her. And he took the bones as she had bidden him.
That's not going to want to marry. But Dad, why can't you do that?
And very carefully he made steps down the side of the well. And he climbed down into the deep, dark well. And when he reached the bottom of the well, he searched for the ring of youth, but he could not find it anywhere. Oh, well, he had almost given up hope, when all of a sudden he saw something gleaming in the muddy water. He bent down, and sure enough, it was the ring of youth. And clasping it tightly in his hand, he began the long climb back up the side of the well. For with the ring of youth clasped tightly in one hand, he began very carefully to gather back the bones. And this done, he fell down on his knees, and his heart did not beat, and his breath did not come, until all the bones were fitted into their places. And then over the heart he placed the ring of youth. And life came back to Fidelma. You have done well. And one thing only is out of place, the joint of my little finger. I have helped you in everything, but in the last test I could not have helped you if you had not been faithful to me when Aoife and Gilbeen brought you to them. But now the 3 tasks are done, and you can ask my father for one of his daughters in marriage. I pray that the one chosen will be myself. Well, none other will I have but you, Fidelma, love of my heart. On his chair of gold. Have you bought me the ring of youth? I have bought it, said the king's son. Well, give it to me then. I will not, until you give me what you promised me at the end of my task. One of your 3 daughters for my wife. Well, then the enchanter pointed to a closed door. My 3 daughters are in that room. Put your hand through the hole in the door, and the one you hold when the door is open is the one that you shall marry. And then wasn't the mind of the king's son greatly troubled? For if he had the hand of Aoife or Gilbeen, he would lose his beloved Fidelma. He stood, fearing to put his hand through the door. Well, put your hand through the hole in the door, or go away from my castle forever. So the king's son ventured to put his hand through the hole in the door. The hands of the maidens inside were all held together in a bunch. But no sooner did he touch them than he found that one had a broken finger, and this he knew to be Fidelma's, and this was the hand he held. You may open the door now, said the king's son. So the enchanter opened the door while waving his hand, and the king's son withdrew Fidelma. Well, this is the maid that I choose, and now give her her dowry. And the dowry that should go with me is the slight red steed, said Fidelma. We'll go round to this table then and get it, and I hope no well-trained wizard like you will come this way again. Oh, no well-trained wizard am I, but the King of Ireland's son, and I have trained you within a year and a day. So now I pluck out the 3 hairs of your beard, enchanter of the black fat lands. The beard of the enchanter bristled like the spikes on a hedgehog's back, and the balls of his eyes stuck out of his head. The king's son plucked out the 3 hairs of his beard before he could lift a hand or say a word. Mount the slight red steed and be off with your return, you. So the king of Ireland's son took Fidelma and went to find the slight red steed. And one by one he fitted the keys into the table door. And one by one they clicked and they clacked, until the 9th key opened the magic door. And then the king's son and Fidelma mounted the slight red were left behind in somewhat of a rage.
Like to introduce you to the puppeteers. They'll be there for a minute. Oh.